to Dark World Conversations. I'm your host, RJ Kelsey, and with me again is my beautiful, adorable wife, Angie.
Hello.
Today we are going to talk about The Wave, a 1981 ABC after-school special that talks about how easy it is to follow the path to fascism.
Now, the first thing to know is that this is based on something that actually happened in the 1960s.
Exactly, and the title of today is called, actually, The Wave and Path to Fascism. And basically, in 1967, a history teacher was teaching about the rise of Hitler, the rise of the Third Reich, and how they're killing Jews left and right, not to mention other people, and concentration camps. And yes, this was in a high school.
Do we know what state?
San Palo, California, or Palo Alto, California. And like I said, he was telling people about the German concentration camps, and some innocent person rose her hand and said, "How could German people say they didn't know how this was going on when it was literally in their backyard?" And he really didn't have an answer for that. And so he started looking into history books, back when we had history books, about the Third Reich, about Hitler and everything, and he came up with this ingenious idea to basically create his own fascist dictatorship in his own classroom, complete with simple words like strength is unity, strength is community, and he had a symbol of hitting his chest and putting out his hand like a little wave, and he even had an organization called The Wave. Not to mention he had ID cards for people, and on a separate side would be a red circle for a special group who basically told on other people.
So this was a social experiment.
Yes, and so this also meant that the kids did not know that this was an experiment. They thought that this was a great organization. They had a symbol of a wave, and he promised that they would be talking to a historical figure that would endorse this, and that this was going on to other universities, other corporations, other
high schools. Wasn't it supposed to be
high schools?
Youth organization, he called it?
Yes, and basically he did say that this was going to all universities, all corporations, so this was going to be worldwide. And like I said, except for 2 people in his classroom, everyone else was following it to the extreme, including starting to hurt people and having flags. And then they had this rally. Person even came up and said, "I finally feel like I belong to something," because apparently they thought he was a loner, and that is actually what Hitler went for, was the loners, because they were easily manipulated. But
yeah, human nature, humans want to be social. Even if a lot of them, even the introverts, they're still social animals. It's a lot harder for some people, and they prefer like a smaller social group to be comfortable.
Exactly, and like I said, there was one person like that in this special. There was 2 people, like I said, see the light, and one of the person's friends even turns against her, and so they go to the teacher, and he says, "I'll take care of it." And that's when he says, "Oh, by the way, there's also this, we're going to have this youth movement. It's spreading across universities, it's spreading across corporations, it's going to be almost worldwide."
And what was this organization supposed to be about, by the way?
Strength through unity, strength through community. Like I said,
that's very vague.
I know, and but that was what's kind of scary, is that in the second day of this experiment, he was telling them about strength through unity. He was telling them to sit up and to sit down and put their hands behind their backs and arch their backs to help their spines. And then he said, if you have a question, you come up, you say, "Mr. and Mr. Teacher," I can't remember his name, but let's just put Mr. Anderson. And you're supposed to stand up, put your hand out, and say, "Mr. Anderson," and then a short answer for the question he gave. And then, like I said, the second day, all these students are literally on their seats, ready, and hands on their laps. It's like, yeah, he's got them hooked. I mean, you can tell that he's got them hooked. And like I said, as things get a little bad and worse, a newspaper editor, who is one of the people that was listed from the group, starts writing negative articles about The Wave.
Oh, the school newspaper.
Yes, the school newspaper writes negative articles about the wave, and she's almost attacked even by her own boyfriend, who, when she realizes, that he's far gone, it's like he starts waking up, and it's like, yeah, this.
Okay. I'm still wondering. I'm with the kid in the beginning that questioned the teacher that started this. How you just that high school students? How do you get them all into one thing, especially with vague things like strength is unity?
I don't know how did Hitler do it. I mean,
I don't know.
But like I said,
usually when you have something like that, you've got something else going on that you're gonna say, oh, this will solve your problem. It's a problem for everybody. It's giving a solution, whether real or imagined solution doesn't matter if you get everybody to agree that, oh, okay, we're gonna go with this as our solution. But from what you're just from the description here, they're very vague. Where's the problem that this strength is unity becomes the solution?
Well, they're high school kids, so the problems could be that they're rowdy. So basically, near the end of the story, he gets all these people into an auditorium, not just his class, but other classes, because this has become now a school problem that he's actually talked to the principal about, so maybe the principal's in on this now.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, well, your leader is about to come up. He turns on the television sets, and it takes a while, and somebody says, there is no leader, and he says, no, there is a leader. Here it is. And it's Hitler giving a speech, giving one of his speeches. Unfortunately, since I don't speak German, I don't exactly know what he's saying. Possibly maybe strength of unity, strength of community.
Yeah, I don't think the kids knew what he was saying either.
No, but they knew who he was.
I'm sure. Yeah, you can see some of the looks on some of their faces as they start to realize.
Yes, exactly, and you can see some people are even crying, and it's like, and he's saying, you are willing to follow me, follow these dictates, see what your future is, and they could see kids doing the Nazi salute.
Because that is what they did. They had their youth group. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. He just repeated what they did as an example.
Exactly, and like I said, and he says, what we did is no different than what they did. So if you want to know why Germans could say we didn't know what's going on, it's because they were literally brainwashed to follow what Hitler said and ignore their individuality, ignore their conscience. And I'm going to play you a nice clip right now where he basically explains all this.
You thought you were so special. Better than everyone outside this room. You traded your freedom for the luxury of feeling superior. You accepted the group's will over your own convictions, no matter who you hurt. Oh, you thought you were just going along for the ride, that you could walk away at any moment. But where were you heading? How far would you have gone? Take a look at your future. Yes, you would have all made good Nazis. You would have put on the uniform, turned your head, and allowed your friends and neighbors to be persecuted and destroyed. Fascism isn't something those other people did. It's right here, in all of us. You ask, how could the German people do nothing as millions of innocent human beings were murdered? How could they claim they weren't involved? What causes people to deny their own history? Well, if history repeats itself, you'll all want to deny what has happened to you in the wave. But if our experiment is successful, you will have learned that we are all responsible for our own actions, and that you must question what you do rather than blindly follow a leader, and that for the rest of your lives, you will never allow a group's will to usurp your individual rights.
And he's right. That is one of the parts of fascism, is that you basically usurp your rights, your freedoms, your individuality for the group. So
and you do things that you formerly would have known was morally wrong and reprehensible, and yet you'll do them for the group.
Not only would you do it for the group, but you would obviously deny that they even existed, because it's the group. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but the road to fascism is paved with false promises, with false guarantees. And it's not like, the wave is an offset. It's not like, Nazi Germany was a vacuum of history. We're seeing it today.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, take a look at, some people at certain rallies. They literally fly around the Nazi flag.
Yeah.
An organization that we fought in World War II to end.
Yeah.
And now they're here. Actually, they've been here for a long time.
And they need to get somewhere off the planet because they don't belong on this planet.
Yes, and basically they follow the same philosophies that you saw in the wave. They were guaranteed false promises. They were guaranteed false innuendos. They said that a certain person was president of the United States still, even though he lost the election. And he did lose the election. We have several pounds of evidence.
You want to get picky. He actually lost both of them.
Exactly. Like I said, he might as well be the one speaking German, going blah blah blah. As much as you can understand what he says, but people will follow him to the gates of hell and back.
Well, in case you haven't noticed, some of the people that he's gushed about are current dictators of other countries, because that's clearly his goal.
Not just his goal. I would say the goal of several people, including certain members of our Congress. Maybe not the higher echelons of our Congress, but like Kevin McCarthy, I don't think he's trying to rule for dictatorship.
No, just stupidity and being mean.
Well, I was.
Oh, and they also want to, kill people, because clearly that whole debt ceiling deal was really to nobody's benefit.
Exactly, and as we find out, not only do they try to get concessions for the debt ceiling, but now they want to have more tax cuts for the rich, which will increase our national deficit. That national deficit they were bitching about all throughout the debt ceiling. And the worst thing is, many of our own kids are not even learning about the Holocaust anymore. They're not learning about racial injustices. They're not learning about
crimes against humanity and how to stop it from happening.
Well, they're not even learning about our own history. And like I said, we have our states that are either trying to ignore history, rewrite history, or create their own history.
They want to make history where we were always just shiny, happy people, and that nobody ever did anything wrong. Why? I don't know. Because, as I like to say, it's one of my favorite sayings because it's so true. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Emphasis on the doom.
Exactly, and like I said, once we forget about our history, once we forget our ethics, our morals, our individuality, once we become almost like the Borg on Star Trek, then that leads us closer and closer and closer to fascism and the Nazi movement, and that's
our own destruction.
That's when we start throwing people into concentration camps and not caring.
And I would like to bring up to all the people who touted themselves out as Nazis, waving the Nazi flag around. Remember, history doesn't remember these people as good. They remember them as the worst humanity has to offer. That's how they are remembered. They are the reason that the term crimes against humanity was coined.
Exactly, and those people, and also for the people who ban books, Moms of Liberty, the Proud Boys, any of those groups. History doesn't record good things about those people either. Especially banning books. History does not record them as the good guys or the saviors of humanity. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, they're usually the people that end up having to be overthrown.
Once again, exactly, and as the teacher basically says, and he doesn't say it, but it's implied. The road to fascism is a lot of slippery slope than we actually like to admit. We are literally born to be wanting to be in a community. And once we're in that community, we want to be, cared for, loved. And if that leads to fascism, then so be it. That's the idea. But we must always strive for our democratic ideals, our democratic ways, our democratic rights and liberties.
Yeah, well, I mean, and those things are built in for a reason, because we would have needed them for survival back in the Stone Age, before we started building bigger civilizations like villages and cities and countries. Once you get to those bigger possibilities, they become more of a detriment if it leads to stuff like this.
Exactly, and unfortunately it does lead to stuff like this. These kids are literally duped, sometimes very much intentionally, but not to the point where, they were going to kill people, and that's a blessing in disguise, but they were duped into following these ideals, following these beliefs, and then falling in line, and then abandoning their individuality, and abandoning their morality, abandoning their civic duty.
And then when they were shown where that was leading, you could see the shock on their faces. They hadn't even realized that that's where their new methodology was coming from, and that's where it was leading. Like he told them, they kept going the way they were going. They were going to make great Nazis.
They would make great Nazis. I mean, you could definitely see when one person is literally crying tears when she's seeing the video of Hitler and realizing, yeah, that's what happened. I mean, I totally fell into this. Now, I don't know if I would have fallen into it because I do have a sense of right and wrong. My compass has always, I hope, stayed straight to the true and narrow. But
in addition to that, let's say you didn't pay attention to histographs and didn't know to watch for the signs. Yeah, you'd know Hitler and the Nazis if you looked at them, but let's say you didn't pick up on the signs or whatever, and you wouldn't know to pick up on what was going on.
Exactly, and it's not like, if it wasn't for the Holocaust, I think Hitler would have probably gone down as one of the best leaders in the world. I mean, he did bring Germany from the brink of extinction to almost world power.
Oh yeah, if he hadn't gone off the other end, he probably would have been... Which begs the question, why? I mean, I know it's possible for evil to be born, but that's not usually actually how it starts. Usually there's some kind of trigger.
Well, he did see the horrors of World War I. He was gassed, and there's always the theory that maybe that's what led to
Why are you persecuting innocent people then? These are the people you're supposed to protect.
Unfortunately, we actually saw a Star Trek episode where a history teacher wrongly assumed that, these people were just bad, but, somebody who's more benevolent, who used the Nazi doctrines, the Nazis' belief, and bring a society back from the brink of extinction. What he didn't realize is that it's not the person who's bad, it's the ideals. It was not Hitler himself who was bad, it was the ideals he installed. It was the ideals of the Nazi party that were installed.
It was him and all the other people in his group that decided to persecute the people that they were supposed to protect. These were their citizens.
I know, and we're seeing stuff like that today. I mean, take a look outside. I mean, people are persecuted because of their skin color, because of who they love, who they are. I mean, we just had a nice Star Trek episode, Star Trek Strange New World, that basically followed into that path. It's like the path to oppression is quicker than you actually want it to be. Mm-hmm. So once again, you listen to the dogma, you listen to the promises, you listen to the false narrative, and all of a sudden you go from a person who was a nice Boy Scout, who people was he wouldn't harm a fly. He was nice. He was always careful. He was one of those people who took the Scout motto to heart. You go from that person to a person who's storming the Capitol just because you were listening to false beliefs, false dogmas, false narratives. So like I said, the path to democracy, to fascism, is a lot deeper than the road to hell with it, which is what people say is always paved with good intentions. The path from democracy to fascism is paved with falsehoods, false promises, like I said, false promises, false beliefs, an economy that's crumbling, and it's like, I could bring this back.
False news. You got the people who trot out fake news, not realizing that they're watching the fake news, and then, of course, at this point, it might be both. Really, if you want the answers, if you want to make decisions on things, watch both sides, so you actually get a picture, because somehow I doubt people that were seeing the same stuff we are, and really some of this stuff is you just let the video camera and what the person's own action, that's what they're doing. The video camera is just rolling. Nobody's saying, there's no other side making it, anything other than what it is. And I don't think that some news stations will play the straight footage.
No, but we actually know because Tucker Carlson was actually given 44,000 hours of videotape of the January 6th 6 insurrection. And I use that word right, insurrection. And what he did was play 4 minutes.
He doctored the footage.
Yeah, he basically showed 4 minutes of people being given a tour around the Capitol building. It's like,
I mean, it's
nice
not
4
like,
minutes.
you know, we don't know what's there because it was all live when it happened. So we know what happened.
We also know it happened because some people were stupid enough to
Post it on Facebook.
Post on take pictures on their cameras, take video on their cameras, post it on Facebook, post it on Twitter, post it on whatever.
And they weren't hiding what they were doing. I mean, yeah, you do that stuff when you're on a tourist visit too, but you're not showing yourself committing a crime usually.
Yeah, you're not showing yourself banging down windows, banging down bike racks, basically.
Toting guns into a no-gun place. Because I'm pretty sure on the Capitol there's no guns allowed.
Putting your feet on Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk when you're not supposed to be there. I mean,
and since most of those offices were probably locked, I would definitely say breaking and entering.
Well, definitely. I mean, this was a building that was not
currently open to tourists.
Yeah,
because they had their session going on.
Not open to tourists. Not open to the people, but they bang down those barriers anyways. And like I said, the path to democracy to fascism is a lot less than the path from my place to my next door neighbors. So as Todd said on Drumhead, which we broadcasted a couple of episodes ago, until vigilance is the price we have to pay for the liberties we enjoy.
Yeah.
For the freedoms we enjoy, because if we ever lose that vigilance, if we ever let go, like I said, you become an innocent bystander to a person who's knocking down barriers, staying Capitol buildings, destroying the basis of the democracy we all take for granted. Well, that's all we have for today. Our next session is
Final Fantasy VII, the video game, and how it relates to Citizens United, an actual case from American history. That's going to be fun as we explore the world of Final Fantasy VII and its corporate rule.
So once again, if you want to talk to us, tell us we're full of crap, or praise us for bringing fiction, or even movies that are based on true stories to modern day times or the past, you can reach us at
darkworldconversations.com, or you can @ us at RJ Kelsey on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or you can drop us a line at rjkelsey@gmail.com.
Okay, once again, I'm RJ Kelsey, and if you are one of those people who like to boycott things, please don't boycott us, because we really do want to hear from you. And like I said, once we go down that dark path towards fascism,
dominate our destiny.
It is very hard for us to get back to where we were. Have a nice day. And Angie, would you like to say anything else?
Good night. See you next week.
Okay, goodbye.
You won't lose your individuality.